Welcome to T4G Sports. How you doing today? So today we're going to talk about the College Football Playoff Committee, why they do what they do. Yes, there's politics in it. There's a bunch of question marks you may have and go, wait, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? You hear some guy say something who's on one of the media networks or whatever the hell, and then you could just be confused. So we're going to just try to give you our opinions on this, kind of why the playoff committee is doing this, even though some of it is, there's definitely some questions that need to be answered or should be answered. They never will, though. So here's the thing I see. Georgia, in reality, should not be ranked number one. There's no way. It's political, in my opinion. It has to be political because in what world is your best win better than Michigan's best win, which is Ohio State? Even if you were to play Alabama and beat Alabama, with how they've done Alabama this year, struggling against USF, struggling in all the areas, Auburn almost beat them. Auburn's terrible. They almost lost to Cal. Auburn struggled against horrible teams. They just lost not even that long ago, 2 weeks ago, to an absolute dreadful team. Auburn's just not that good. Oh, well, it's a division game and what have you. People will say that. I don't care. Whatever they want to say, Georgia fans, we both know that your schedule has not been that tough this year. It's not been that good. If I were to tell you in the beginning of the season that beating Missouri and Ole Miss would make you number one and beating Georgia Tech would make you number one, what would you say? You'd say that's crazy. And I also agree with you with that. It is crazy. Georgia shouldn't be number one. Number two, Michigan, if they didn't allegedly cheat in the last 2.5 years, they should be number one, right? But if they did cheat and do what they did, they should be kicked out of the playoff. And I know Michigan fans think they're vindicated because they beat Ohio State. That does not vindicate you. The game was very, very close. You won by 6 points at home with the most electric crowd you ever played. That's insane to think you're somehow vindicated for the last 2.5 years of allegedly cheating because you won by 6 points. If the game was that close, and you look back in time and say, well, what if in this game here being that close, what if they knew when there was a run or a pass? How much of an advantage would that give Michigan? A lot, particularly if it is this close. So you could win by multiple touchdowns. Well, hence that's what they've done in previous years. So if that is true, Michigan, you should not be even ranked or even being able to play in the Big Ten Championship. And I don't care that you guys say it's unfair to your football team. It's unfair to other football teams that you guys did this, if that's actually true. So I just don't care how you feel about that. Michigan should not be in the playoffs, and they shouldn't be rewarded for cheating, if that's allegedly what happened. Okay? Which you did fire your linebackers coach, by the way, so you don't look too innocent if we're just speaking from personal opinion at this moment in time. However, it is what it is, and it's alleged at this point in time, so we'll find out more in the future. Now, Washington at number 3, personally, I just think that the way they set this up was just because of the fact that Washington and Oregon play in the Pac-12 and they get an opportunity to rematch. I think that the College Football Playoff Committee really loves the SEC for one. Love the SEC, okay? And then 2, they love conference championship games. And because Ohio State gets screwed by the Big Ten is so ridiculous. They screw Ohio State, and they screw Michigan, and they screw Penn State. All of those teams ever since the playoff bowl committee has come out, or the playoffs came out in 2015, they have been screwing their own members because they put all their best teams on one side of the conference. One can make it out alive. And in reality, while Texas gets to rematch against Oklahoma and Oregon gets a rematch against Washington, Ohio State does not get to rematch over Michigan, or that TCUN team that the Ohio State fans like to say, which is that cheating team up north, allegedly. But they don't get a rematch because the Big Ten screws Ohio State, which is a crazy program to screw, by the way. That is really mind-boggling. You know how much more money they would make for your conference being replacing Iowa, which they should. Iowa is not the second best Big Ten team, but yet they're getting the right because they're on one side of the division. It just doesn't make sense. So the Big Ten screwing Ohio State, which tells the playoff committee, okay, we're going to screw Ohio State because they're going to put them behind Oregon. Why is that? Well, if Oregon was behind Ohio State, okay, and Oregon beat Washington, theoretically that would push Ohio State up. I still would not have it that way, and I would have Ohio State ahead of Oregon. And if Oregon beat Washington, I'd just swap them, right? That's all I would do. But I wouldn't punish Ohio State because here's the thing, Oregon fans, I know you're probably getting ready to start typing and saying, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous, man. We are showing that we are better than Ohio State or what have you. In what world besides your own emotions? Because think about it. What's your best win? Utah? Utah's lost 4 games this year. What, USC, who's abysmal? That's your best win? Well, Ohio State's is Notre Dame and Penn State. Penn State only lost to Michigan and Ohio State. Notre Dame is still Notre Dame, and they played in week 3. And Notre Dame has lost less games, which they've lost 3, than your best win team. So both of their wins are still better than your top win. Let's go over the best lost, right? Well, you lost to Washington. They're still not as good as Ohio State losing to Michigan, all right? So, no, Oregon should not be ahead of Ohio State, but they're ahead of Ohio State because of the fact that they're protecting the conference. They're allowing, because the Pac-12 is allowing a rematch, which is smart, and the Big Ten isn't, which is stupid, Ohio State gets screwed. Also, Texas is sitting behind Ohio State, and Texas gets a rematch at Oklahoma. If they win, maybe someone could say then that Texas may jump Ohio State. I don't know. Is there a way for Ohio State to get into the playoff? It's tough. It is very against you because Washington has to beat Oregon and Florida State has to lose. Okay, that's really, in Georgia and Michigan have to win their games. If Michigan loses, that's not going to help Ohio State. If Georgia loses to Alabama, that is not going to help Ohio State. Okay, definitely not going to help Ohio State. If Texas loses, that'll help Ohio State. If Texas wins, it may or may not hurt Ohio State. It just depends on what happens ahead of them, right? If Oregon wins, that could help Ohio State. Very well could be, but Florida State still has to lose to Louisville. So there's several scenarios in which Ohio State could get in, but it's small. It's small. Right, small chances. It's not that easy. So that's basically what you're looking at. Alabama, if they win against Georgia, they're going to find a way to throw them in. Trust me, they can't wait. If Alabama just farts in the right direction, they're going to throw them in. They want to, at least. Missouri ahead of Penn State again. Something that I think is insane because Penn State lost to 2 higher-ranked teams. They lost to Georgia and LSU. LSU is not that good. LSU has lost 3 games this season. Penn State is only lost to teams that have lost 1 game this season, or one's undefeated and the other one is lost 1 game, so a combined total of 1 game. It doesn't make sense that Penn State is ranked behind Missouri. But they love the SEC, as you can see. Okay, Ole Miss is still up there pretty high too, and Ole Miss, I don't know. I don't think Ole Miss is that great. So it is what it is. But some things I don't agree with. I still see what they're doing. I still understand the way that the playoff committee thinks. At least I believe that I do, because if not, you would look at this and just go, man, a lot of this doesn't make sense. And then you start breaking it down on how it's political and kind of where they want to go with it, and you're like, okay, I get it. I get what you're doing. I don't like it, but I understand what you're doing at least. So yeah, let us know what you guys think.